All right, guys, so I'm officially back one way or another. Probably not looking or sounding too great right now. If you saw my post yesterday, then you know that I was out of town for the holidays for a couple of weeks. And then when I got back, I was extremely sick. I don't know if it was the flu or something. Seems like basically everybody I know got sick over the last week. So that's what I've been up to. But I'm back. I'm going to see how well my voice holds up. We're going to try to get 2025 off to a start. So, first story of the year, I guess. Absolutely apocalyptic scenes out of Los Angeles as wildfires have spread and engulfed literally over tens of thousands of acres. So just some quick details here, and then I'll show you some of the images coming out. They say here from CBS, wildfires continue to rage across Southern California, killing at this point at least 5 people and prompting close to 200,000 evacuation orders as flames engulfed swaths of Los Angeles neighborhoods like the Pacific Palisades, which is where it looks like was the hardest hit, and residents hurried to escape. So this is the map that they have posted here. These are the Palisades fires across here. I mean, this alone was 17,234 acres that were burned. I mean, pretty close to Malibu and Santa Monica there. Over here, you had the Eaton fire, which I think was the second biggest of any of these. You even had some smaller fires. I don't know if you can see that here on the map, but there were some smaller fires getting really close to Hollywood and Beverly Hills area. This was on Sunset Boulevard, and that was about 43 acres that were burned. So massive, massive fires. And again, the scenes are kind of like unimaginable. A lot of the videos I've been seeing almost don't seem real. I mean, this was one that was taken clearly out of the window of a plane where it looks like, I mean, a portion of this entire area has just been lit on fire, right? I mean, it seems like it almost looks like it's been bombed out. We also have some, I believe this is aftermath of the Palisades area, where you can see that homes have just been basically leveled to the ground in certain parts of California. This was one of a school in Altadena that was on fire as well. So schools, homes, nothing being spared, obviously. We also had reports here, as pointed out by the People's City Council of Los Angeles, that in Eaton, that second big fire that was pointing to on the map, they're apparently running out of water. And this is something that we saw across Los Angeles over the last couple of days. They weren't able to access water through some of the hydrants. People that weren't able to access water for themselves in their homes. People, evacuating at the last minute. And that's, another issue. We also had the LA Fire Department chief coming out and making a statement here saying that not only are they short on water and other basic resources, but they're also short on firefighters as well, which will tie into a story that I'm going to show you guys here in a minute in terms of the budgeting priorities of the Los Angeles County. So we also had this video. This is wild. I'm going to try to bring the volume down on this. Here we have, I think it's two guys, maybe a guy and his friend or partner or something, and then I believe also a dog in this video. Now, I did hear an update that apparently these people did make it out, but look at this scene, right? I mean, clearly seems like they waited a little bit too long to evacuate, but I mean, they're inside of their house and they're just surrounded by a wall of fire. I mean, that's terrifying. That, I mean, it almost looks fake. It almost looks like it's like a visual projection on the window. I mean, that is absolutely insane, terrifying situation to be in. Some more images here of just the aftermath of the destruction. This is, again, I mean, it almost looks like it's been bombed out. This was, I believe, again, in the Pacific Palisades area of Los Angeles, where, entire neighborhoods just flattened. And this is, I think, to sum it up, again, something that looks like it's out of a movie here. But it's not. This is real. This is what the sunset or sunrise early in the morning in Los Angeles was looking like. I mean, it looks like a movie poster, right? You can see sort of, I guess, the red and orange hue from the flames and the sun rising. And then I saw other images as well that were crazy where it almost looks like there's a massive storm cloud that's surrounding Los Angeles, but it's just complete smoke. There's no storm. It's just smoke. The wind has been insane. And as far as what I've read so far, they haven't really contained this at all. What I was reading yesterday is that as of yesterday, they hadn't contained it literally at all. I don't know how much progress they've made over the last day, but it's pretty much as catastrophic as it gets. Now, in the meantime, we also had the LA mayor, Karen Bass, who was actually out of town, not only out of town, out of the country in Africa on some trip. And while all of this was going on, and so she comes back, it looks like she's sort of in like the loading area before you get onto an airplane, and she's being confronted by reporters here in terms of, why were you gone? Do you have anything to say to the people who are losing their homes? What do you have to say for yourself? And she sort of just like freezes up here. I mean, this is a bizarre video. Let's go ahead and watch this.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, boss? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
I mean, what is going on here, guys? I guess you could say maybe this isn't it's not an official crowd of journalists that she went to give a press conference to. Sure, but even if this is just a random citizen journalist, I don't know if it is or whether they work for Sky News or something. And by the way, I don't care what Elon Musk said about any of this, but these are fair questions, right? You are out of the country. This is sort of getting into the fire season for California. Why did you cut the budget for the fire department in the months leading up to this? These are fair questions. Do you have nothing to say? You're just going to pretend as if the guy isn't there? I mean, again, even if it is just a random journalist, say something, right? Try to reassure people. What plan do you have in place? Explain yourself a little bit. But she just stands there, blank stare, completely ignoring the guy. I mean, it's just bizarre. Now, tying into one of the things that he was pointing out there, LA cut their fire department budget at the same time that they, of course, predictably, because this is America, gave more money to cops, right? And the same thing at the national level as it is on the city level or the county level or the state level in this country. Regardless of whatever the situation is, we always have more money for cops and we always have more money for the military, right? Even at the federal level, when the Pentagon fails 6, 7, 8, 100, it could be audits in a row, even if they're wasting hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, none of that matters. We always have more money for war, for the military industrial complex. In the same way, we always have more money for the police, no matter how incompetent, no matter how corrupt, especially, if you want to go and look up LA's history with essentially gang police departments, I encourage you guys to go and do that. Pretty nasty history there as well. But somehow, no matter the scandals, no matter the controversies, no matter the corruption, no matter the ineptitude, they always have more money for the cops. But we don't have more money for the fire department? Really? I mean, it gets even worse when you look at more of the details here. I mean, I want to scroll down to this bottom part. I guess we'll read this top line budget here. So in June, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass signed and adopted $12.8 billion budget that cut the fire department's funding by more than $17.5 million, or around 2% of the previous year's budget. Now, I mean, keep in mind, guys, it's not like this is the first time we've seen crazy fires around this area. Right. This happens, I think, basically every year. I don't know if it happens to this extent or to this magnitude, but this is a pretty regular occurrence. You would think, if anything, on an annual basis, you would be wanting to increase your fire department budget, giving them more resources, allowing them to hire more firefighters, right, to do more preparedness. But instead, we're doing the opposite of that. So that what exactly? So that we can increase the LAPD budget by $126 million? I mean, think about that. The same year, my voice is cracking, okay? Forgive me, I'm sick. The same year that you cut 17.5 from the fire department, you gave 126 million to the police. In what world does that possibly make sense? Now, they also say at the same time that they were cutting the fire department budget, there were other departments as well that received cuts, including the Bureau of Street Services, the Bureau of Sanitation, General Services, for an overall budget decrease of $250 million. Funds for rental support, homelessness services, and street lighting were also reduced. Right. So instead of handling the fires, instead of helping the homeless, instead of basic sanitation and things like that, we just got to give more money to the cops, which actually ties into a tweet here from Crystal that I'll get to here in a minute, essentially pointing out that at this point, when it comes to not only climate change, but just how the trajectory of our society and where we're going, it seems like the wealthy in this country, the elite in this country, the establishment, whatever you want to call them, have basically just resigned themselves to not really fixing anything, but instead just doubling down on surveillance, on security for themselves and their wealthy friends, on a hyper-militarization of the police. This is the direction that we're going in this country, right? It's not, making massive investments in infrastructure and, giving people universal health care and universal higher education or whatever the case may be, or childcare. It's none of that shit, okay? It's increasing surveillance. It's increasing militarization domestically and abroad in this sort of spiral to fascism that it seems like we're inevitably heading down right now. They've just thrown their hands up. They're just giving up at this point. Now, we also have our fearless, dear leader here, Joseph Robinette Biden, in the dying days of his presidency and also maybe his life, depending on how things go from here. Don't know how much longer he has left in the tank. But here he is next to Gavin Newsom, just bizarrely making this about himself for some reason. I don't know if he got lost or something, but let's just go ahead and watch this short little clip.
We got this notification yesterday that their home is probably burning down. Today, there's a baby still standing, I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter, and a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for a lot of long reasons. Thank you. Breath.
It's very okay.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that? We're talking about widespread fires, hundreds of thousands of people being evacuated, potentially losing their homes. People are dying, right? And you're talking about how you just became a great grandfather. Number one, who gives a fuck, right? I mean, number one. Number two, I mean, I guess on a personal level, if you weren't the president, congratulations. But like, it also kind of ties into his age concerns, right? This is the same Joe Biden who wanted to run for re-election. First great grandfather president in U.S. history, by the way, right? This man wanted to do this job for 4 more years. You're at a press conference about these widespread fires taking place, and you're bringing up how you just became a great grandfather. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? Now, tomorrow, I think I'm going to get into, there was actually an interesting op-ed, or it wasn't an op-ed, but it was basically like I think it was an interview with Biden from USA Today, where he went over his greatest mistakes or what he feels like he went wrong on during his presidency. And some pretty interesting stuff in there, to say the least. So I guess we may circle back around to this kind of thing here in a day or two. But,
That's science.
Couldn't bring up Joseph Robinette Biden without bringing up our incoming president, who's going to be taking office in 11 days now, it seems like, on January 20th. And this isn't recent. This is back from 2020. But just to give us a little bit of a taste in terms of how Trump feels about these kinds of situations.
That's science. That science is going to be key. Because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay. It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows, actually.
I don't think science knows, actually. It's going to start getting a lot cooler. That was his response to somebody bringing up like, hey, man, maybe we should, I don't know, think about addressing climate change if we want to, stop the frequency and severity of these kinds of fires from breaking out. But no, he doesn't have any interest in that. Not only does he not have any interest in that, he doesn't even want to think about the concepts behind it. It's just thrown out the window. Science? What do you mean science? What do you mean data? What do you mean actually following the evidence to try to come up with some sort of a solution? No. Maybe we can just nuke the fires or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what he'll do this time around. But I guess we have to stay tuned because that man is walking into the White House in just over a week now. We also had this. Always important to bring up what our boy Matt Walsh has to say about all of this, because why not? Surprise, surprise. He's blaming wokeness. Could you have guessed that conservatives are using wildfires driven by lack of resources, austerity, climate change, privatization, these kinds of things? Would you ever imagine that they would instead blame it on wokeness? and DEI. Okay, here's what he had to say. Los Angeles deliberately set out to exclude white men from becoming firefighters. Huh? And now they don't have enough firefighters to prevent their city from burning to the ground. DEI is a cancer that destroys everything that it touches. Okay, so Los Angeles County put a policy in place that said no more white firefighters. I'll wager a bet with you guys here. Okay, now I haven't looked this up, so I don't know if I'm right about this, but I'm almost certain that if you go on Google right now and you try to find out what percentage of the LA fire department is white men, it would be, I would say, I could confidently predict above 70%. At least above 50%, but maybe above 70%, we'll say. Go fact check me. Let's see what it is, right? Is this a real policy that was put in place? Did they deliberately exclude white men, white ban from the fire department in LA? Let's figure this out, because if there are no white men in the LA fire department, maybe we need to look into this, I guess. But my hunch is that he's doing a little bit of the bullshit here. That's my hunch. And again, finishing off here with this accurate tweet from Crystal, as well as this More Perfect Union video that will be linked down below if you want to go and watch it. It's an 8-minute video made by our boy Second Thought, doing it for More Perfect Union. But he basically gets into the privatization angle of this story in terms of how one billionaire couple essentially took over a huge swath of California's water supply, right? Think about that. Just as a country, right? You have a public resource like water that should belong to the public, should be used for the public, for our benefit collectively. And we essentially have allowed it to be privatized for the benefit of, in some cases, massive multi-billion-dollar corporations, or in other cases, like 2 people, right? This is the kind of country that we have built where a handful of people can gobble up desperately needed resources that the rest of us rely on, to the point where it's an active detriment to all of society, just so that these couple motherfuckers can get rich. This is the society that we have built. Now, as Crystal points out here again, the ultra-rich effectively decided, rather than dealing with climate in a way that could impact their lifestyle and wealth, they'd rather use their money to mitigate the impacts for themselves and support a police state crackdown to keep the poor domestically and globally in line. That means mass surveillance, speech crackdowns, mass deportation, ballooning police budgets and military budgets. AI will only supercharge the tools of public repression. And I think that she's 100% correct there, right? I know it's first video, 2025, kind of a dismal start, right? We're talking about massive, widespread wildfires. We're talking about, people losing their homes. We're talking about, the wealthy using this as an opportunity for themselves to continue to gobble up resources and continue to direct our government to engage in, surveillance and crackdowns and speech restrictions and, hyper militarization of the police and all of that. I know it's all a lot of kind of doom and gloom shit, but unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. So, we're going to keep covering it. I got a bunch more stories that I have wanted to cover over the last couple of days. Maybe I'll be able to catch up now that I can sort of make it through a video without my voice exploding. But yeah, thanks for following me up until this point. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. We've grown the channel a pretty decent amount, and I want to use this year as an opportunity to take it to the next level with you guys, right? I want to produce more content. I want to make the content higher quality. I want to do more, collaborations and work with other people. And I got a lot of ideas for what's coming in the next year. So thanks to everybody who's, held on, like, comment, subscribe, do all of that good stuff, and pray that my voice and my throat and my head get better so that I can actually keep making videos.
Politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying